We're very proud, and this is where you and I met when you took the position as the executive director of the Holy Family Shelter here in Willimantic.
Yes. So that was actually another kind of neat story. So while I was in grad school, I needed an internship, and
Uh-huh.
I was, pointed in the direction of Holy Family, and it was such a great experience. So much so that I applied for the job as their executive director, and have been there now for almost a year and a half. It's been really an exciting adventure.
I got to give you a little history on that. When I was with Legal Services, Connecticut Legal Services, when we were very, very active, and I was head of the statewide housing task force. Hannah Clemens, former first selectman, Irene Glasser, a professor at Eastern, and I formed a coalition against homelessness. This is probably in the 80s, and Sister Mary Peter from St. Joseph's Church was joined with us. And for at our first meeting, she said, I'm going to go over and ask them if we can use those buildings that are not in use as a shelter.
Yeah.
And I can't take any credit for doing that. Sister Mary Peter did that, and it was the first really big thing we did. One of the best things we did was Hannah Clemens came up with the idea of setting up a fund for security deposits for people. But the biggest thing of all was turning those buildings, or that building, I don't know, you could talk about that some more, I don't know the facility that well, into a shelter for the homeless, because we sure as heck needed it. And I got to tell you, when Susan and I started with Legal Services, I started in 1972 as a lawyer. I don't remember anybody being homeless here.
Yeah, and I started in '79, and we still didn't have any homeless people that were problematic until sometime in the mid to late '80s because of the cutbacks that Ronald Reagan put into effect.
That's right, and that's the reason why so you're dating it good, because I couldn't remember the date that
Yeah, it was
when we
mid-eighties.
started the Coalition Against Homelessness, and
Yep.
it had to be around what you said.
And the other thing that we started was a soup kitchen, and that was started by that minister over there.
Malcolm McDowell.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And so we had those two things here, and those were started in the '80s. But things really were exacerbated back when Clinton became president and changed the aid to families with dependent children to the temporary assistance for needy families, which then this state under Rowland changed it to the second worst program in the entire country, making women and children off the program permanently after 21 months with less than the actual federal poverty level in terms of supplements for money. But I helped change that, but we're not going to talk about me and how I helped change it
No.
to 29 months or
You did, didn't you,
35
right?
to 35 months actually.
That was
And I increased the amount, but nevertheless, I'm still not happy. I want the whole 60 months, and I want to see where we are with the money from the federal government to the state, because we should be paying for women and children so they don't become homeless.
Absolutely.
Okay, but anyway, that's our
Bring
little
us up to
introduction.
date. What's
But
going
we're-
on?
What?
But we're
So
thrilled to have you
since
here.
so the
Yeah.
shelter actually opened in 1989, and Sister Mary Peter
There you
was
go.
definitely the one behind at
Yes.
the helm.
You got the right year then.
I
huh?
did.
I didn't
This
remember
is-
exactly.
this is part of my, I think part of me getting the job. I had to know all these lovely things. So yeah, Sister Mary Peter, Sister Mary Jude, they've
Yeah.
always been just a very integral part of that shelter.
Yeah.
Bonnie Ryland was the director there
Yeah.
up until 2022 when she retired, and then here I am. So it's been a huge year of change. The shelter did unfortunately kind of go through a not so good part, but we're back, and I think that part of that, and actually I think the biggest part of that, is this community and the people here around us that just rallied together to keep us where we are. We were able to expand our shelter, which is something that I don't think could have even been possible without the community support. We had an entire second floor of rooms that were not being used. So Marie Hackmiller, again, a community name that you know,
Yes,
if you don't
of
know
course.
Marie Hackmiller, you do not live in
We
Willimantic.
are
Thank you.
contemporaries.
We agree.
She
We
and I are
agree.
contemporaries.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, she is.
So she went out and she just started asking local organizations, hey, you want to sponsor a room? And they
That's great.
came up to bat, and we were able to expand an additional 8 rooms for families for under $6,000. I think.
Wonderful, fabulous.
And we were able to increase our capacity from 32 to 40 guests that can stay there, you know, as long as they need to. And we also have the ability to take additional families in an event of an emergency. So, you know, again, in these cold months ahead, a family is told that they have 5 hours to leave their apartment and they literally have nowhere to go. We are in a position to take those families and keep them warm and keep them safe. And that, I think, has always been the mission of the shelter. And it's something that all of us that's what we strive for every day, is that safety, that place where people can go on some of their darkest, most vulnerable days.
Exactly.
It's amazing. What you do is amazing. What Sister Peter did in starting it was amazing. How it's been continued by Bonnie Ryland and whatnot is amazing. In fact, whenever Susan and I have been involved in many campaigns over the years, political campaigns, and we always buy food for Election Day or for other events. And whenever we have any leftover food, Susan always says, bring it to the St. Joseph's.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. And usually you have room for it.
Oh, they love it. Let me just tell you.
We bring some dry grinders
We have
and
an
stuff.
amazing cook, so we do provide meals.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
is another
Of course.
thing about our shelter that does kind of set us apart.
that is great.
is we have a cook, and
Wow.
they
Great.
make their own breakfast, but they get lunch and dinner every day, and we make stuff that they want to eat. We always ask for their suggestions. You know, what do you guys want? It actually makes our cook's job much easier, but it is a really just it is a home, and I think that's the way that we like to look at it, and it is just it's a gift to this community. And another kind of unique thing about us is we have very large spaces. That was the original Wyndham Hospital. The rooms are extremely big. So we can take families of 6, families of 8, and a lot of shelters in the whole state of Connecticut can't do that.
Right.
So we actually get a lot of families from across the state or in other areas because we can keep them all together. And, you know, to me, that's important. We also created rooms where we can take single elderly women who might not feel safe in other places or other shelters. And that has really, they kind of become, you know, I don't want to sound ageist, but they become like the house grandmas, and they love it. And they love to take care of the young
You're not
kids.
sounding ageist.
No, I know. I just
No,
like,
no,
they
that's
are.
wonderful.
But they love it too.
If
in a lot of-
anybody's going to complain about ageism, it's me. And
Okay.
I'm not going to complain about that.
No, I mean,
Other people,
I love
not
being a
you.
Grammy, and I don't think of it as an ageist thing. I think it is just a wonderful thing to be able to connect with the little ones, and it really helps you think about the future. It connects you with your community. I mean, being with the little children and making sure they're feeling connected and not traumatized by the loss of a home. That's one of the big things that I emphasize with my work at the Capitol and in the Education Committee. Is when somebody is out of their home and they have to leave. That's a trauma for the little ones, and it does have an impact on how they perform in school. So having that support from people, having them have that feeling and that connection of home is very, very, very important. So that's a great thing to hear.
It's vital.
About.
It's vital.
Yeah, and
It
that's
really
something
is,
that's
yeah.
so important. You know, when you walk into our doors, I always joke with people, if you look at the outside of our building, it's this very like stoic brick building.
Yep.
Sure.
And when
It's Catholic.
when you walk in, it's alive. It's a home. There's a living room with couches and toys and
Yeah.
puzzles and coloring.
It's marvelous.
And, you know, I think that that's kind of the part of it that is so important, is when these children, like you said, Susan, they don't understand homelessness. We get these
No.
little 2 and 3 year olds, they don't understand why they're not sleeping in their bed anymore. So to try to make it as normal and peaceful and again safe, I keep going back to that word because I think that's how you know, lessen that trauma for these children. Is it's a place where they stayed, they were safe, they rebuilt. We actually have a lot of people that come back who had lived at the shelter many, many years ago, some
Thank you.
kids, to thank us and just say how it changed their lives and thank you for the support. And, you know, to me, those are the days that keep you going, right? I mean, it's not an easy job. But it's
No.
so important, and you know it's a blessing to be able to work with these families. And again, just going back to that community support, if we didn't have support from people like you guys and just community members, businesses that day after day show up for us, we wouldn't be here right now. So
This is a wonderful community. We've lived here since 1974, and you know, we could move somewhere else, but you know, this everybody's welcome here.
Yeah.
There's nobody that's not welcome, and we do our very best. It is not perfect. It is you know, much needier than you worked in Mansfield. I worked there. It's much needier than Mansfield. but it is special.
Yeah.
It is
Oh, I
special,
love it.
and the fulfillment. I mean, your job's got to be real difficult. It was real difficult for me when I was a legal aid lawyer. When I first started, I would people would get evicted, and I'd help them move. I had to stop doing that after a while. I just didn't have time for it. But you know, it's just I'm a bleeding heart, and you got to be a bleeding heart to do what you do. And it is somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Like,
feel
you know, like the people at the soup kitchen.
Yep.
They are
Oh.
meeting.
And I think that's another really great point to bring up. We all work together.
Yeah.
WAME, the Soup Kitchen, Project Hope, we are all in
Yeah,
this together.
yeah.
We all work together. We all, you know, if we have extra of something, we're calling them, do you need it? And it is really just a neat way that we do surround just to help people that need it.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's a need that I don't think people even realize the extent, you know, the
No.
amount of it. But we're happy to be here to help and to help families. We take whole families, you know, and people, someone once asked me, you know, what's a family? How do you define a family? And I said, why, I think that families define a family. If you come to our doors and you say, this is my family, I'm not going to
You're not
question
the
who those
Department
people
of
are.
Social
Right.
Services,
Yep.
right.
I was like, if that's your family, great. You're all here, and
You don't
you're,
have to
you
fill out
know,
all
you're
these
good in
papers.
my book. No.
You know,
so,
I mean, and I understand why the government does that, and it could be there's a lot of pressure from taxpayers, but you know, but most people who go to places for people in need are needy. They don't go there. They're not crooks. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not trying to.
I don't think
take-
anybody wants to share
Nobody
a room
wants
with
to-
their 4 children that's
Absolutely.
12 by 12. I mean,
Absolutely.
and it is nice that they all get to stay together and we're able to provide a place for them to be. But,
Yeah.
you know, the end goal here is to get them into permanent housing, to
Sure.
get them into apartments. And, you know, I love how you said you were helping people move out. You know, one of my favorite days is the day that I get to wear, you know, dress down and help people move in. And
No,
we're
I was
taking
helping
our
them
van-
move out
oh,
and
yeah,
in.
yeah. It's my favorite part is helping them move into their new places, and those hugs and those smiles and those cries. Oh,
You're right.
the best part.
You can't
So I
beat
just
that.
want to say a few things, and a couple of things that I wanted to help us focus on, because one of the things we're going to be focused on coming November 12th and 13th is we're going into session. And one of the things I want to try and have here, and we blast this on the air, and we also, I always have this go at the Capitol. So, and I just want to talk a little bit about what we need here, what you need from the state, and how we can continue to help the people. And I'm afraid we're going to run into even more difficulty with food problems, with Medicaid, with homeless problems. So tell us a little bit about the things that you need from the state to help you do this work.
Yeah, I think that the biggest barrier that we see is that security deposit, that finding that lump sum of money to move into an apartment. And, you know, we have guests that can't even pay application fees for apartments because they're $50. So again, you know, we're fortunate to have, you know, donors that give us the money and allow us to do that. But this is a barrier that we face time and time and time again is, you know, if people can't save up the couple extra $100 for groceries, how are they saving a couple extra $1,000 to move into an apartment?
Can't.
It's impossible. It is impossible.
What's the average price?
Okay, so now with rental rates the way that they are, I would say if you're looking at a 3-bedroom apartment for a family, you're usually starting at $2,000.
Oh my God.
So if you're looking at a normal first, last, and security, that's $6,000. And sometimes we can work with landlords. There are amazing landlords out there that understand and want to help,
Yep.
you know, the homeless. So they're great, and they will help us in any way possible, but they still need something.
Yeah.
And you know, really, I think that's a huge problem. You know, there's just also not enough affordable housing out there. I
Right.
think
No.
that's number 2.
Right.
It
Yeah.
is, you know, that's great that, and again, another common misconception at the homeless is that they don't work. Almost every single person at my shelter has a
Right.
job.
Right.
Thank you
It's-
for that, because
yes.
that is something that we need to emphasize every single day, that people in these circumstances are working, but the amount of money they make isn't that much. Tell us a little bit about some of that.
Yeah, so I mean, here's a perfect example. We have a family there now. Mom's pregnant. Dad works so hard. His truck broke down. How do you then, at that point, you know, you make this, in a lot of them, when you ask families how they entered homelessness, it was we got behind on bills and our muffler broke. and we had to have our muffler fixed because that's how we got to work, and we couldn't pay our rent. So I think, again, there just needs to be some sort of a better system to stop it before it starts. That homelessness prevention, I think there needs to be a shift to. I actually in grad school did a lot of research on this, and
This is good.
yeah, this is the way that kind of the country is heading, is into this idea of what supports can we put in place before. And a lot of that is these rental assistant programs, these things to help people get their cars repaired. A lot of this also goes down to childcare. Childcare is unaffordable in the grand scheme, especially in a single parent household.
Yep.
And, how do you work? How do you work? How do you actually work when your children are not school aged? And that is another problem that we see over and over. So
I just want to focus on
Yeah.
that for a minute, because what happens is there is this requirement still under the temporary assistance for needy families that the mom has to work. Now the mom can go and get some training, but where does the child go? So do you have what's happening with the children in these circumstances? Where can they go and not have to pay?
right, again, I don't know the answer to that. And in our shelter, we have unique ways around that. How I mentioned that we have these single older women, they
Yes.
they do provide free childcare to these families, which is beautiful.
It is
And they
beautiful.
love it because it gives them purpose, and they like getting up and
That
they
is
love
beautiful.
it.
That is so
So it
beautiful.
does allow a lot of our families to work. And but on a state level and on a nationwide level, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I think it just takes a shift in thinking. And again, just to talk politics for a small second, is a lot of people look at these things as entitlements, when you really have to shift that thinking that these are basic human needs.
Right.
We want people to have families. We want communities to thrive and flourish, and we have to support people from the bottom up. And I think that's really where this is all going.
What we did this session is we created a fund that should be available in a few years to help pay for early childhood care. So we do have that fund that we're starting, but it's not going to have the money in it right away, and we're faced with billions of dollars in losses in the state based on the bill that was passed by and signed into law by President Trump. And that bill has taken billions of dollars from health care. Now it's taking billions of dollars from food programs and shelters. And there's really nothing available in the bill to address special needs kids or these kinds of things that are things that we've had in the past that have been taken out of this bill for tax breaks for billionaires. So it's really a real problem, and it's just the law. I'm not being political, but
No?
it's just no. That's a law.
Well,
It's a law that was passed.
I agree. I mean, agree with you. You're not being political,
No.
but it is reality, and
And it's going to hit this
it's a
place.
it's a sad reality.
It's going to hit
it's-
this
it's-
place harder than other places because we have so many people here that we take care of. Wyndham takes care of, the surrounding towns
Oh.
do not. The surrounding towns maybe will send some money, but they don't actually do
Yeah.
the work, like have the housing
Yep.
or have the shelters or
Nope.
have the soup kitchens.
Nope. We are Connecticut is the poorest towns in the state are isolated, and I mean, you said you have people coming here from out of other towns, from as far as maybe Hartford.
Oh, even further.
Really?
Even further,
Oh,
coming here
oh, yeah.
because
Really?
people
Waterbury.
word gets
oh,
around.
yeah,
Word gets
Torrington.
around that you've got a really great facility here, but I mean, you have limitations too, serious limitations. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it with because the cost of living when I started in legal aid in 1972 was a heck of a lot lower than it is now, and I knew a lot. I had a lot of clients that were in poverty back then, and some of them now are business people, nurses,
Yeah.
doctors, lawyers.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there was upward
And
mobility.
we
Upward
try-
mobility has been restricted greatly
Yep.
in this country.
And
It costs a
that's-
fortune to go to college now.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the other things we do. I mean, again, with Help the Community, we try to empower these people to get better education. We have a program that helps people get certifications and just better themselves and really just get better jobs and employment. And that's really what we do. We surround them with love and we surround them with hope and we work to help them. But our biggest problems is really, where do they go? How do they get there?
Right, right, excellent. So we want you to summarize this because we're running down to our last part of the show.
Yep.
And just give us what we need to do, and this is going to be broadcasted throughout on my webpage. So just
Sure. Yeah, I would, again, like to really move towards prevention. Look at ways, during COVID, we had those rent programs that help people stay in their homes. That helped people stay in their homes. It literally kept people out of homelessness. So I think, again, if we can just shift the thinking to the what do we do after to the what can we do before. And again, I think a lot of that just takes a shift in thinking and how do we help people on a much, deeper level, but also a surface level. And I think, just trying to identify those needs and really just focusing on that. That's what I would say.
Sarah Dufresne, so happy to meet you
Thank
here
you.
and to hear you talk about the one of the places that I feel very warm about, and I should, and we all should, the Holy Family Home and Shelter. It's a great place, and I want to have you back real soon.
Oh,
I want
sure.
to get periodic reports from you.
I do want to get her back.
I want to adopt this
Yes.
this structure
Yeah.
and this person for
And
for Let's Talk About It on WILI.
Me too.
We need to promote
we
this.
need to actually ask Sarah, is there a way we can make contributions?
Yeah, so anybody can go on our webpage, which is hfhscommunity.com. So HFHS as in Holy Family Home and Shelter. You can also look for us on Facebook, and there's ways to get to our website, but there's donation links on there. We also do a really neat thing, an Amazon wish list, where people can literally just pick really easy things that we need, like paper towels, things like that. So all of that information's on our website.
Thank you so much, Sarah. This is Dennis O'Brien with Susan Johnson, Sarah Dufresne, Matt Rupar. We will be back next week with another great show.